Rain tapped gently against the windowpane as Mia sat on the edge of her bed, her hands wrapped tightly around a warm mug of tea. The soft hum of the storm outside seemed to echo the turmoil inside her heart. She had come to a breaking point after months of stress, exhaustion, and relentless disappointment. Every plan she had made felt like it had fallen apart. Every relationship she had tried to nurture seemed strained. And her dreams, those bright sparks of hope she had carried so carefully, now felt like ashes slipping through her fingers. She exhaled a shaky breath, trying to make sense of her life. God, she whispered into the quiet room, I don't know how to keep going. I feel so lost. It had been weeks since she had truly felt a sense of calm. Her nights were filled with anxiety, and her days felt like an endless treadmill of obligations and responsibilities. The weight of her failures, real or imagined, pressed down on her chest, leaving her feeling hollow. She had prayed, yes, but somewhere along the way, her prayers began to feel like words she was throwing into a void. That night, as the rain intensified, Mia's phone buzzed with a notification. She frowned, not expecting anything comforting. It was a short video clip from a faith-based group she followed online. The title caught her eye immediately. God says, I'm restoring your peace tonight. She hesitated, her heart beating faster with a mixture of skepticism and curiosity. But something compelled her to tap play. The video opened with a soft, warm voice speaking directly to the camera. To the one who feels burdened tonight, know this, I see you. I hear your heart. I know the battles you are fighting, even those you cannot speak aloud. And I am coming to restore your peace. Mia felt a chill run down her spine. She blinked rapidly, unsure why her eyes were suddenly filling with tears. It was as if the words were not just for the audience in the video, but directly for her. She could feel a warmth spreading from her chest, something gentle and undeniable. Her hands, still clutching the mug, trembled slightly. The speaker continued, peace is not the absence of trouble. It is my presence in the midst of it. Tonight, I am sending my spirit to calm the storms inside you. Do not try to hold on to your worries or fight your fears alone. Lay them at my feet, and I will carry them for you. Mia's breath hitched. She had never truly understood peace in her adult life. As a child, she remembered moments of carefree joy, when laughter and sunlight filled the small corners of her world. But adulthood had taught her hardship, loss, and the relentless push of expectation. Yet as she listened, something deep inside her began to shift. She felt a gentle tug, an invitation to let go, just for tonight, and allow herself to be held. The video continued, the voice soft yet commanding, you have been carrying burdens not meant for you. You have been trying to control outcomes that are beyond your grasp. Tonight, release them. I am working behind the scenes in ways you cannot see. Trust me to make all things right in my perfect timing. Mia's tears flowed freely now, rolling down her cheeks in a quiet catharsis. She felt her body relax in a way it hadn't in months, like a tight knot finally unraveling. The tension that had gripped her shoulders, her jaw, her chest, began to ease. And as she sat there, she realized something she hadn't in a long time, she wasn't alone. For the first time in what felt like forever, she whispered a real, heartfelt prayer, not a list of demands, not a string of worries, but a simple, raw plea. God, help me, please, bring me peace. And in that silence, in the gentle patter of rain against the glass, Mia felt something shift. It wasn't a thunderclap or a sudden revelation. It was softer, subtler, but undeniably real. A warmth spread through her heart, a quiet reassurance that the weight she had carried need not crush her anymore. The night stretched on, and she stayed awake, listening to the rain and letting the words from the video sink deep into her soul. I am restoring your peace tonight, the voice had said. And with each repetition in her mind, the phrase became a lifeline. She realized that peace was not something she had to earn or demand. It was something she could receive, a gift freely given, even in the midst of chaos. As the hours passed, Mia felt herself drifting into a kind of meditative calm. Her mind, usually racing with worries about work, relationships, and her uncertain future, began to quiet. She reflected on the struggles that had seemed insurmountable just hours before. They were still there, yes, but they no longer seemed to define her. There was space, a gentle margin of calm where hope could grow again. And then she understood something crucial. God's peace wasn't about everything suddenly falling into place. It was about the assurance that, no matter the outcome, she would not face life alone. It was about trusting in a presence that could steady her heart, even when her circumstances remained uncertain. She rose from her bed and moved to the window, watching the rain streak the glass in shimmering ribbons. The city outside felt quieter, softer, almost reflective of her newfound inner state. And as she gazed at the storm, she whispered again, this time with conviction, I receive your peace, God. Thank you for being with me tonight. Little did Mia know, this night was only the beginning. The peace she had experienced was a seed, small, fragile, but alive. And over the coming days, that seed would grow in ways she could never have imagined. It would guide her decisions, strengthen her in moments of fear, and shine as a quiet light even in the darkest hours. Tonight, though, it was enough to simply feel the stillness, to know that she was being held, that the chaos around her could not touch the calm inside her soul. And for the first time in a long time, Mia slept without the burden of her worries weighing her down, resting in the gentle assurance that God's peace had indeed arrived. The morning light seeped through the curtains, soft and golden, painting Mia's room in hues of hope. For the first time in months, she woke feeling refreshed, not just physically, but spiritually. The heavy, suffocating weight that had once pressed upon her chest seemed to have lifted, leaving a sense of clarity she hadn't known she could feel. She sat up slowly, taking a deep breath and allowing herself to fully absorb the stillness. Over the next few days, Mia noticed subtle shifts in her life, almost as if the world itself had begun to rearrange in alignment with the peace she had received. Small moments of grace appeared unexpectedly. A coworker complimented her on a project she had doubted would succeed, her neighbor returned a long-lost item she had assumed was gone forever, and a call from a distant friend reminded her of the relationships that still mattered. These were not dramatic miracles, but gentle, persistent confirmations that life could feel lighter again. Mia began to reflect on how often she had carried burdens that weren't hers to bear. She had spent years worrying about outcomes she could not control, trying to anticipate problems that might never come, and allowing fear to dictate her decisions. But now, with the quiet peace resting in her heart, she realized how liberating it was to release control. She began journaling daily, pouring her thoughts and anxieties onto paper and ending each entry with a simple prayer, Lord, I give this to you. Restore my peace. At work, Mia noticed something remarkable. Tasks that had once felt overwhelming now flowed with ease. Meetings that had made her anxious became opportunities for collaboration rather than sources of stress. Her colleagues remarked on the change in her demeanor, how calm, focused, and confident she appeared. And she realized that the peace she had received was contagious. It radiated outward, touching everyone she interacted with. One afternoon, while walking home from the office, Mia paused in the park near her apartment. The world was alive with color. The deep green of the trees, the golden shimmer of the sun reflecting off the pond, the soft flutter of birds in flight. She felt a profound sense of connection to the world around her, as if she were no longer a passive observer but an active participant in the beauty of life. Kneeling on the grass, she closed her eyes and whispered a prayer of gratitude, feeling the warmth of God's presence wrap around her like a comforting blanket. Then came the moment that truly tested the peace she had received. One evening, she received an unexpected call from her estranged father. Their relationship had been strained for years, fractured by misunderstandings, unspoken resentments, and years of distance. The thought of speaking to him had always filled her with dread, but this time, something within her felt different. She felt a calm courage, a reassurance that whatever unfolded, she could handle it with grace. "Hi, Dad," she said, her voice steady but gentle. "Mia," he replied, his voice hesitant, almost fragile. I know it's been a long time. I wanted to apologize for how things ended between us." The words struck her with an unexpected clarity. For years, she had carried anger and disappointment, replaying old arguments and wounds in her mind. But now, she felt a sense of release. Instead of reacting defensively, she listened, truly listened, and for the first time, the conversation flowed without accusation or blame. By the time the call ended, they had shared laughter, memories, and a tentative plan to meet in person. Mia hung up feeling lighter, knowing that the peace she had received allowed her to heal even the deepest wounds. In the weeks that followed, Mia's life continued to transform. She discovered new passions, dedicating time to volunteer work at a local community center. Helping others brought a sense of fulfillment she hadn't known she was missing, reinforcing the understanding that peace was not just an internal state but an outward expression of love and compassion. People she met were drawn to her calm presence, and she began forming meaningful connections she had longed for but had never pursued before. One evening, as she sat quietly on her balcony watching the sunset, Mia reflected on the journey she had undergone. The chaos, the heartbreak, the sleepless nights, they had not disappeared, but they no longer held power over her. Peace, she realized, was not the absence of problems but the presence of God's sustaining love. It was a force that could steady her in storms, guide her through uncertainty, and illuminate the path forward, even when the way seemed unclear. And then, in the quiet of that moment, she heard the still, small whisper in her heart, familiar yet profound, "I am with you, always. I am restoring your peace, not just for tonight, but for every day you choose to trust me." Tears of gratitude filled her eyes. She understood that this was more than comfort, it was a call to live courageously, to act with faith, and to carry that peace into every corner of her life. The following morning, Mia received an invitation to speak at a local seminar for women struggling with anxiety and burnout. At first, she hesitated, doubting her ability to make a difference. But then she remembered the nights she had spent in despair, the words of reassurance that had pierced through her darkness, and the calm that had transformed her life. She accepted the invitation, determined to share the message of hope and peace she had received. Standing before the audience, Mia shared her story with honesty and vulnerability. She spoke of sleepless nights, relentless worry, and the crushing weight of expectations. And then she spoke of the night she encountered God's promise of restored peace, of how it had changed her life in subtle but profound ways. As she spoke, she saw nods of recognition, tears of relief, and smiles of hope. She realized that peace was not something to be hoarded but something to be shared, a gift that could ripple outward and touch countless lives. After the seminar, women approached her with stories of their own struggles, seeking guidance, comfort, and encouragement. And Mia, who had once felt powerless and overwhelmed, discovered a new purpose: to help others find the peace she had received, to remind them that even in the darkest nights, God's presence could steady their hearts. Weeks turned into months, and Mia's life continued to blossom in ways she had never imagined. She embraced challenges with confidence, navigated difficult relationships with grace, and approached each day with a sense of calm determination. The peace that had once seemed elusive had become a steady companion, shaping her decisions, her interactions, and her perspective on life. And though life would still bring trials, uncertainties, and storms, Mia knew one unshakable truth: the peace God had restored was not temporary, not conditional, and not dependent on circumstances. It was a living, breathing presence within her, guiding her, strengthening her, and reminding her that no matter what happened, she would never face life alone. As the sun set on another day, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson, Mia stood on her balcony once more. She breathed deeply, feeling the gentle rhythm of life around her and the steady heartbeat of peace within her. She smiled, whispered a quiet prayer of gratitude, and knew with certainty that this was only the beginning. God's restoration of her peace had not just transformed one night, it had transformed her life forever. And in that moment, she finally understood what it truly meant to be free: not the absence of struggle, but the presence of divine peace, unwavering, unshakable, and eternal.